Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Hallway Wrestling Podcast. I am a very scruffy looking, the man that you know, Scott Rain, and joining me today is 1/3 of the best trio in indie wrestling, more than hype. He's living his beautiful life. Don't know how beautiful it is right now, and he's the creator of this
Nice t-shirt.
beautiful t-shirt. You can find that more than hype.bigcardell.com. Did I get the Jericho plug right there? It's
Yeah,
LJ.
I think that's it. Yeah.
It's LJ Cleary. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all right. I think I genuinely think that's our nicest t-shirt. We have, and it's the least amount that, like, out of the ones we brought out, like, like batch wise, it was
Yeah.
that one you're wearing, the blue one with just the logo. We only made
It's
like
simple.
30.
It's simple.
Yeah.
It's
And it's
simple.
comfortable as well.
It
I'm
is.
okay. I'm okay. And as we said just as we came on this, like, as good as we can be during these times. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no. How are the lads? How are the can't talk of one member more than hype without talking about the other two. How are
Yeah,
you and the
yeah.
lads doing?
We're all okay. We're kind of just, it's very much so like a waiting game now. Like it was a waiting game this time, March, April last year. And then because there was like, it was waiting, lockdown. There was a bit of something in the summer. Like the summer was I had a really good summer. And then it was just like, crashed down again. So I'm kind of just hoping. And obviously, like in my head, I'm like, we had such a good last summer with everything that happened. Now, obviously, like it's also unfortunate, like the numbers, the cases and deaths and stuff. Like, but with the vaccines and stuff, you can only be as hopeful for like a much better second half of this year. Like,
Yeah,
I think we have to just be as optimistic as possible.
you have to be optimistic, or else you're going to drag yourself into a hole. Like that brings me to the first the fan question that we got on the Tommy Flynn's OTT form. And it kind of ties into one of the questions I asked to a lot of people, and there was a few different answers. There's kind of like two different people when it comes to like when the lockdown hit. And I think I know what boat you guys were in, but there was the guys who had like niggling injuries and wanted to kind of heal up and kind of work on a few things, and were in a bit of a rut. And then there was the guys who just needed to keep going, who wanted to keep going, like we're on a roll. And 4 days before the stadium, you both had huge matches. I know which boat you're in, but like how have you kept during the pandemic, and did it just come at the wrong time for you?
Like, yeah, like it did come at the wrong time, especially looking back on now. I did have small niggling injuries. Like I've been going like for today is my like 8 years. To this day, 8 years ago, I went to training for the first time ever. Like when I was 13. Like I'm 21 now, and especially starting so young. Like I've been going hard for a very long time. I did have niggling injuries and stuff, but like classic like kind of wrestling mentality. Like I was just ignoring them. I was like, this is like, especially in 2019, like things picked up so much that I was running, and then I get so like because when the stadium got cancelled first, I think we were just talking about this when we came on. For me, it was the anticipation of that not happening is what was killing me. It was the talk the week before, like maybe it won't, and I was just like no in my head denying it. It will. That when it did, I had to just accept it because I kind of when it did get cancelled, I realized, well, like this thing is quite serious. Like what's going on, like the COVID and all that. I was like, people are getting really badly affected. I was like, it's a match that got cancelled for me that I think I'll still get in the future. So honestly, for the first few months, as much as like now, I think about it, I'm like a proper like still a wrestling mega fan. Like I watch wrestling every day. When I'm walking, when I'm on a bus, like I'm listening to a podcast, like every single day. So I'm obviously still thinking about it. And all I've been wanting to do is get back, taking that time specifically, like that Scrappermania show. Like I had just kind of like I was like, look, it didn't happen. It will happen in the future. And then I remember one day, just walking on one of the like 50 million walks we've been on in the same routes the last year in your 5K. I just remember, I don't know what it was. I think I was listening to some playlist and like a wrestling song came on, and that was the first time I was like, I was like, that match that I was meant to have with Pac. I was like, I think that was gonna like obviously now you look at what that show was meant to be. I think we could have had the best match of the weekend. Like I was really confident going into it. I was like, and because I proper was like, I've always been trained wrestling wise, but like I was probably the best I ever looked, like the best I ever felt in the ring wise and stuff. So like I have had my time to like be sad and mope about it, but it has been a huge effect. I can't lie because like I was me and the lads especially, like we were, as I said, from about like the end of 2018 up till now, like we were going hard. Like we were going on like 4 to 6 flights every week. And like I'm in college, so I was balancing college and
That's
and
mad.
and
That's
wrestling
mad,
and
man.
stuff.
That is mad.
And then like the start of 2020, like we'd already been to, by March we'd already been to England, Scotland, Italy, Belgium, like, and it was like, all right, so this year's looking a lot like last year's. If anything, we're gonna go more. Like I really wanted in 2019, I really wanted to have 100 matches, and I got to 95.
Oh.
And I would have done 100 if there's a few shows that got cancelled and things like that. And I was like, right, I didn't get 100. I said in 2020 I'm gonna get 110. I was like, I'm gonna have 110 matches. That didn't happen. But the start of the year we were still running hard, and we did get to go back training a bit in the summer. You know, when we went to that, like, remember like in May, June, it was like, I was like thinking about it today, like looking at cases, there was like, oh yeah, like there was 9 in Ireland.
There was 0. There was 0 in June.
Yeah, and I was like, and we went back training, and like those few months of training were amazing, and it was just as we were kind of looking to like maybe we get back doing a few shows. Obviously, you know, like things happen. But like, yeah, it's been hard. I can't lie and say like it hasn't been like, there's been, I have, you know, you have better days than some, but I have I think I'm getting through it okay. I'm generally quite a positive person. Something that really helped me, and I guess it was kind of like a lesson that I took from the whole thing, and still am now, is that like I obviously, like I live with at home, and I have 2 younger sisters. One is 9 and one is 4, and like, I'm really close to them. I've always been really close to them, but it was like, so obviously I was spending a lot of time with them during especially the heavy lockdown months, and now when they're not in school and stuff, like I need to be a helping hand at home, like 2 young kids. So this has made me realize, like when I was running really hard, and I was proper like I was like college, gym, wrestling, going to shows, have to get this, have to do this. When I'd say come home for an hour, I'd be telling myself like, oh, you know, you need to kind of relax for an hour. But now I've kind of shown like I've gotten even that much closer with my sisters and stuff. So the whole pandemic's kind of made me realize that when I'm back to like that way I want to be, because things will come back. It's not going to last forever. That when I tell myself, you're tired or you're this, be like, well, you can take that hour out of your day for, you know, in my case, my sister's at home and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to look.
You love the homeschooling and all that. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters that are all younger. I'm the eldest, so.
And it's tough. Like it's really tough. And like, but that's like, I'm trying to look at, that's my positive I'll be taking out of this horrible time, that like it just brought me a lot closer to them than I already was, and it kind of just made me realize that how to really kind of manage the time better. Because obviously there's a lot of sitting around doing nothing during this, and that's killing me. That's killing me the most. Even a year in, like I love watching like obviously like TV and movies and stuff like that. Like I'm a big TV movie fan, but like I hate having the time to watch them. Yeah. I loved when I'd go to get up at 7, go to college. In my break in college, I'd go to college in Tallaght, I'd go to the gym, I'd go to the fly fit in Tallaght, I'd come back to class, I'd go into town, go training, get home at like 11, be like, oh, I'm up at 7 tomorrow, but like I guess I'll squeeze in an episode of The Office or something. Like I loved having that. Like I don't like when I have like,
I love that you said The Office as well. I love that you said The Office. Fantastic.
US Office.
Yes.
I don't like having the time to like be like, oh, if I want to, I can finish a season or something in one day. It's just, I'm still finding that quite tough. But I'm getting through okay. It's not a good time, but you know, silver linings,
Yeah, like obviously everyone knows that match with Pac was announced. Give me Pac. That was the best 3-word, that one of the biggest pops on a crazy night. Like silver linings is you were trusted with that match, and that match will happen. And what's it like seeing Pac tearing up in AEW right now? And then obviously, one thing I don't know, you probably noticed as well. One thing I noticed is when there was an interaction on Twitter between, I think it was Kicking Out Kayfabe and kind of talking about the wrestling skill and stuff. And Cody said, Cody offered to pay the rent for the school. That obviously shows that like that makes me believe that like people are like, oh, what's it going to be like when it comes back? I think AEW are gonna do us a solid, and we're gonna get that match very soon.
I hope so. Like I hope so as much. You know, yeah. Like I only seen that as well. It was like, and that's like incredibly generous. I can only hope. Like I will have that match. Like I've told myself that will happen. I don't know when. It might not be for another year. It might not be for another 2 years. But like when that comes, like you know, I'd love to have it in where it was meant to happen, not the stadium. You know, like I wanted that. Like I really felt like, you know, very much the kind of growth, I guess, of like myself in OTT and just like the Irish scene and stuff. And you know, it's funny enough, even though I said it was, so this day 8 years ago I started training, but this day 3 years ago I was a surprise on an OTT show against Trent 7.
Oh yeah.
And that was like, I remember like I got amazing like reaction that I'm still extremely grateful for. Like I couldn't believe it, and I was like, and it was that, I think it was that show that kind of really kickstarted like me into like a major player on the show. So I feel like it started there, and like this pack match was, even though it wasn't like like the title match or anything, for me it was such a kind of a culmination of everything, and it is gonna happen. I know it will happen. Yeah.
It is going to
Happen
happen
in the stadium and AEW. So
yeah. We'll do that Hangman Page thing where it happened in Nottingham and then happen in AEW, and then you do the rubber match. But like you talk about a lot of people I've spoken to, like Klong and the lads. They say that they're the first thing they on their first day they went in and you taught them the fundamentals. A lot of people, like you're still very young, but you are one of the head trainers at Fight Factory, and you've been training for 8 years today. I saw the tweet today. That's amazing. Is it almost as good as seeing like that kind of gym show that we were talking about? Is it almost as good seeing someone that you have helped like in training, like go out there and have an amazing match, or like go out there and have their moment, as good as like you having a great match in the stadium? Or is it almost as good a feeling as seeing one of your mates who you trained have a great match and be proud of themselves?
yeah, definitely. What it really is for me that I kind of get that satisfaction from is when I kind of take a second when we're all in the locker room together. When like I remember the OTT show that Martin and Klong debuted on. I remember like the locker room, and I was like more than hype, and like Michael and Liam were there, and them two were there, and Justin was there as well. And I was like, wow. I was like, we've all come from the same place, and then like you walk another few rooms up, and there's like Aoife and there's Debbie Keitel, and like I just like it just kind of makes me really proud of like the people, the kind of work that's come from as like it's not my school, I don't own it, but like my home school. I very much so do get like a satisfaction from seeing the people I've helped train well, because I guess I only realized recently when I was looking at it, like I would have had a hand in a lot of people that I didn't kind of realize, because when I started coaching, it was very much out unintentionally. It was like me and Michael May, who like he'd be like my train, I guess like he was there the first day I started, and like we train all the time together, not just wrestling, like we go to the gym together and stuff like that as well. It's very much so me and him that kind of did a lot of the stuff together, coaching wise. So getting to share it with him, and then us kind of seeing the other people do well as well is pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, let's get on to a bit more than hype. Talk to me about the formation of the group. I know you had a hand in training Nathan and Darren. I listened to the OTT podcast on a walk earlier, on one of our lovely walks that we all have. And
stupid walks.
I know. Like I've started running just so I don't have to walk. Like it's
feel something.
Yeah. So like you had a hand in training too, but how did the group come together? How did Bleh come together? How did all that come? How did all the? Because someone has asked, can you put Bleh in a sentence? What does Bleh mean? Listen, Bleh is life. That's it.
Yeah.
But like, how did More Than Hype come together, and how did they kind of develop?
The group came together so I remember around, it was November 2017. So I was around Contenders 4. I remember it was announced they were going to do this thing where it was like the top 3 contenders were going to get put in a faction, and they were going to go on to wrestle British Strong Style at the stadium. And I kind of realized that like I was doing well. See, I'd missed one of the first Contender shows. I was on 1 and 3. I missed 2.
The one that
and I was like,
Darren split his head open.
Darren split his head open. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
But so I kind of told myself, I was like, right, like I'm very like, I was always really confident in my in-ring stuff. However, like I very much went into Contenders when it started, being like, it was me, Darren, Nate, and Scotty and Michael were like the kind of 5, I think, that were getting kind of postered. And I was like, well, I know I'm as good of a wrestler as anyone, but I was like, but I don't think anyone has the personality that I have. So I was like, so that's what I'm going to showcase more than anything. I want to be the one that's remembered for not just having the good match. But so because I kind of positioned it that way, it was like, I'm probably not fitted right now to be in a huge match with like British Strong Style. It just wouldn't add up that like I've only really had 2 or so matches there, and I've kind of been a bit goofy. I've shown that like, yeah, I can wrestle. So I kind of accepted that. However, we all thought Nathan was going to be in it. I remember like we were all like, oh, because he was like, was what, like 16, 17 boy wonder. Like it was ridiculous. Obviously it didn't work out that way. But I remember when the other lads got told, when a bit behind the scenes, we had like the pre-show meeting, and like and like Joe, who runs OTT, he called the 3 lads, but he also called Nathan. He was like, come talk to me. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. Like, why is it for them? And I remember Nathan came back to me like really giddy and was like, oh, I just got told, like, it's going to be them. But when Darren comes back from Canada, because Darren was in Canada training with Lance Storm at the time, it's going to be me, you, and Darren in a faction. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, that's unreal. And I remember that day we made a group chat on Viber of all things, that we still have
memories.
today. Yeah, it's the same group chat we still have for all the stuff today, and we obviously told Darren everything. And Darren thought we were messing, and we were like, no, like legit 100, like this is gonna happen. And he was like, okay, well, we're like, look, we don't really know how, but like we're just gonna have to wait and see. And it was very much so put that we were, and there's no denying it now anyway. Like we were the foil, we were like the jobbers to legit 100. That's why we were put together. Like I know it, we all know it. But legit 100 didn't work, in my opinion, because there was just no real chemistry there.
No.
Like the three of us were legit training with each other every day and doing everything together. Like we had in that, like the amount of time, like hours I've spent in Darren's house is ridiculous. Like we've all spent in Darren's attic and his kitchen, like is crazy. And I remember we had like one 6-man, I remember in February 2018 with the Kings of the North. It was our first one on a contender show. And we were like, okay, but we didn't really know where we stood. We were like, we knew we were meant to be the kind of the losers to legit 100. I remember we went to Joe and we were like, yeah, so what do you think? And he was like, oh, like realistically, like I'm probably going to break his up in like 2 months. We were like, oh, okay. It was a bit disheartening. And it was like, okay, well, look, I guess, that's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to do. And then the show got announced for Paddy's Day, where it was the 2 lads against the 100, and I was wrestling for the gender neutral title. And then I remember we were like, will we just do a promo for it? Like, we're not that good at, we weren't really good at them at the time. We were like, we do like a skit or something. So we sent them one, and we then started to send them one for like every single show. And I think the clear effort was there that was not in the other groups at all. But again, you could just see the natural chemistry. Like we were actually friends. And then I always remember we went to him, and we were like, oh, we're going to get matching gear. And he said, don't get matching gear because I'm going to break this up the day after the stadium. The Scrap Mania 4, he was like, you're just going to get broken the day after. We were like, oh, okay. It was very disheartening, but then it was like, it didn't happen that day because he was like, oh, I just can't, it's not fitting in with the plans. And it was like, right. He's like, but it is coming, like, you're going to break up. And we were like, oh, okay. And then we got put in a match in Belfast against the Mongrels, and he was like, I just need you to do this match. And we lost to them. Like, we lost to the Mongrels as well. Like, he was like, I need you to do this match to get them over. We were like, okay, that's all right. At this point, we got, obviously, like, 2 sets of matching gear anyway. Like, he said, don't. We're like, obviously, we're gonna get matching gear. And then I remember as well, the last thing, it was like, oh, I need you to do this match with Club Tropicana and Colcabana to put them over.
Yeah.
We were like, yeah, no problem. But that it was in that match we were like, this is gonna be our match. Like, and it was the first time we did like the Morning Hype Activate, walking around the ring and stuff. And I always remember we had a brand new like red gear on, like that we got told not to get. I always remember then the 3 of us were backstage at the Tivoli at the steps, and I remember Joe kind of came back and he just had like a bit of a grin on his face, and he was like, yeah, like I get it now. He's like,
proud dad. Proud dad.
Yeah, he was like, I won't be splitting you up. And we were just like, yeah, like in our heads, we were like, oh, he said, like, oh, thanks so much. We were like, in our heads, like, yeah, of course you're not going to split us up. Like, imagine. then we did the loser splits matches. Like, we were like, imagine how much the air would have got sucked out of the room if we had a lost in that match in Surrey Road when we did the it would have been like it just. And then we had the match with like the Rascals and stuff, and then that was really like, okay, it's time to get going. To the point that like it's our brand now, like, because we brought it everywhere, and like it's not just an OTT thing, like it's ours. So I went on a bit of a rant there. Sorry, like that's the story.
No, that's what I wanted. I was gonna like split it up and be like the matches. I was gonna talk about that match, but I wasn't sure if it was that match or if it was the Rascals match. But I had it right in the back of my head. But the matches with the Rascals, well, you had one with them in Cork as well. They obviously are signed to NXT now and doing their thing. They look fantastic, and Trey Miguel is. Hopefully he's doing okay, and hopefully he'll be.
He just showed back up on Impact, so they're all doing well, and they're doing really well on NXT now. Like I watched their first 2 matches there. I think they're going to do quite well.
I did as well. But what was those matches like? Because I was in Cork, I went down to Cork on a whim, but like those matches were just like fantastic. They were really, really good matches, and you saw like this styles kind of mesh together very well. What's it like working We'll get on to some of the other opponents, but they were kind of like the opponents where it was like when it was announced, it was like, yeah, this is a guilty pleasure, man. This is a match that you want to see. Like it's
Yeah. Like obviously, yeah, like the exact same way I used to do. Like we knew when like more like so the one in Corks, we did have the one a good bit before with the Rascals and Make Us more, but that was more kind of our breakout match. I think people weren't expecting the type of match then, but by the time the Cork one came around, it was like, oh yeah, like you kind of people expected the type of match, a lot of chaos and like high octane action, but we were like, okay, we have to take that and we have to make it better. Like we have to like give more than the expectations. We can't just be like, oh yeah, that was the match I wanted to see. I wanted to see them do their stuff, and I feel we did, because especially with like the last few minutes of it, we were like, we'll really start to bring it up, like bring like the drama into it. Like we didn't want it to just be like, yeah, it is just like an amazing kind of
I
spectacle.
remember the chops in that match being just
yeah,
vile.
I think it was Nain that got like wrecked with them. Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
it. Yeah, but
So
like,
that was our mindset on that one.
yeah, that was fantastic. And then obviously, talk to me about like Darren, because Darren all of a sudden in the last, like, you've probably seen it before we did, but he all of a sudden became a monster with the Carney bomb and the half. Talk to me about that moment where you just realized, Jesus Christ, how good have you just got? The Carney bomb is one of my favorite moves. I don't know how he does it, but just you all went up a level. I don't know. Can you pinpoint the moment where you all went up to that like next level? Because you clearly did take a big step up.
See, I think I guess right to go to Darren first, right? Like Darren is like, me saying this isn't like to disservice anything. Like, he has incredible genetics, like, but he also works extremely hard in the gym and stuff when they're open. He's quite naturally strong. He's the biggest out of the three was like he looks really good. And because I think for a while he was quite focused on, but he's also ridiculously athletic as well. But for a while he was more focusing on the kind of athletic stuff. And I guarantee, I can't remember exactly. Like take the what's he call it, the Carney bomb for example, and going from like the kind of Orange Crush position, I think that's what it's called. Yeah. I guarantee he did that to someone in training messing. It was definitely probably Martin or Clone that he definitely did it to one of them messing. I was like, because I always remember for ages before he was practicing on me, just the when you get someone in a power bomb and you take their hands and like flip them onto you.
Flip bomb, yeah.
I remember him doing that to me with a suplex, and he was like, oh, but like it's just not kind of big enough. And so I think he was focusing a lot for a while on athletic stuff, because even if you look at kind of like the first half of 2019, he was whacking out things like running shooting stars, and he was doing the like spring up to the top backflip. Then he could obviously do all that, and then I think he started to get a lot bigger, and he was like, oh, I could probably like start doing a bit more power stuff. And then he was able to just grab people in training and like throw them around and stuff like that. So that's where I think the changes with him. I think where the change came for us as kind of an act was, and this is where I'm the biggest thing I'm like most proud about regarding like Modern Hype is I think that as a trio, I think we're the most versatile act in Europe. That like you take back to that match with like Colt Cabana and stuff, like we can have a very good like comedy match, but we can also do like, okay, if you have the Rascals over, like, well, you're obviously going to put them with us, but then it's not a question that like we can only do like the kind of like the flippy match. Like I feel like we're quite good at every style. Like we can be on first, we can be on last. And I think it was when we had the match on Contenders with the Woe Queens and CT Flexer. And again, that's it's just like a fun, there's nothing that like blows you away or anything. But I remember like that getting such a good reaction. I remember like we were very confident putting it together. And I remember that being one of the shows where we were backstage and we were just like, I'm like, you always get like the little butterflies no matter what. But there's a difference to like the stadium days where like you're getting there, and like when you get there, you're already like shitting yourself. I remember we were like, oh, we're not that nervous. Like, are we just like getting good at this? And we were like, yeah, I think maybe we're just getting all right at it. And then that match went really well. To have like, because the next week, the two lads wrestled Mustache Mountain in Belfast, and I wrestled for the OTT title. And the week before, we were wrestling the Woe Queens and CT Flexer. They're completely different. Like, you have to go into some completely different mindset. So I think when we realized that we could do that is when we started to get really good. Because I think we had it for ages, but we didn't we weren't able to kind of properly cop it. And once we copped it, I think that's what took us to the next level.
Yeah, and then obviously you were meant. We've said this. The Mustache Mountain, the night Mustache Mountain, were meant to face off against. Is we had the it changed to GYV. And then Kings of the North, and obviously you've had so many matches with Kings of the North, like tag teams like that who are just very like well established. I think did they help a lot where you were going in with people who would like Zach Gibson is. I think that was the perfect foil for that tag match where the heat is just nuclear and Morton Hype can just feed off. And then you had Charlie Sterling match with Charlie Sterling. What is it like when you're because you've worked as heels in Fight Factory? What are the differences between what are the main difference between you guys coming in against a really hot heel tag team as opposed to you guys being the heel tag team? Do you guys learn a lot from being the heel tag from the other heel tag teams when you're a face in OTT?
Yeah, we definitely like the match with the Rapture in the stadium was like a huge learning point, like a huge learning thing. And I tell you what, it's because I don't know if you remember, like British Strong Style got announced for that, and we were like, right, well, like that surely has to be us. I remember we were like, it has to be, and Joe was like, no, like I'm going to do using the Rapture, and like a part of us were like, why, like what, like how could you not do this? But and he was like, oh, like just like I remember Joe was like, oh, like just trust me on it, and we were like. And now, like, we were like, before it was Strong Style were announced, we knew it was going to be us in the Rapture. We were like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Like, I think Charlie Sterling is the best wrestler in the UK. I think him and Gibson are the best. And Shah Samuels is so good as well. He's doing really well.
The way he's lost, the serious way he's lost, man.
Yeah. Like, they're all amazing. And, like, but it was just like, we were a bit like, oh, like, but, you know, would you not do the. And this was just because we were like stubborn and like just like why would you not do it? It's right in front of you. And but then I remember he was just like because we didn't even cop. We were on a losing streak for ages and we didn't even realize it until the show before. And it was like I don't know. And I remember Joe was like he's been on a losing streak. He's like I think the stadium would be the one that where we change it. And then I remember when it really clicked was when we were standing behind the curtain and Gibson was talking and I was like oh my god. I was like the place is gonna go crazy when our music comes on like they're gonna go mental like when our music. And,
I can still hear the words "turn it up" in my head.
Yeah,
I can still hear the word that Scouse accent. Turn it up, turn it up. Mental.
And like when like because obviously like we've been to loads of OTT shows helping out, but before as fans as well, like we paid into shows and for a good bit before we were on them and stuff. And I remember always seeing Gibson and being like, wow, like he knows how to get a reaction. And then we were standing behind the curtain and then like the first bar or whatever it is of like Beautiful Life hit and it was just like it was because I feel like we'd experienced like a good reaction or like the wrestling they called them whatever like a good pop like a good day, but this was like a roar. I remember it was like a collective roar of the stadium and like the stadium was sold out and everything as well. It was just such a like oh here we go. And then like to go to back to what you were saying about like learning from them as heels, like understanding how they put matches together because like that match started with like the three was hit the ring and we just did like triple dives and I remember it was like we were so up and then we had it where like we got cut off straight away so like the boos just came right back up. So like the start of the match like normally in the start of the match you would see maybe like the good guys kind of do something to get on top or whatever before there's a cheat or whatever and they just like brought us right back down and then like kind of understanding that after wrestling them when you're at that point that like you take in the storyline the crowd into account when you're planning your match. You don't always kind of do it the same way because like to them it was like you're at the point where like you haven't won in months, everyone hates us. So like this match is going to be like when you get the win at the end of this, you're going to be like giving the crowd what they want. So let's just use the first 5 minutes at the start to take it away from them even more. So when it does happen, an extra 6 minutes later or so, it's going to mean even that much more. And like regarding us being here, like yeah, we did a little bit of the heel stuff on Fight Factory, but like I came into OTT as a heel initially. I remember like I'd only ever done like besides like my first like 2 years of shows, which I probably had like 7 in like random nowheres. Like I was like the skinniest, like I'm not that big anyway, but I was like the skinniest kid ever. Like I had to be a good guy. And then we did a lot of gym shows in the old FFPW place in Bray. And I was just copying, I was just being Chris Jericho. Like Chris Jericho was my favorite wrestler of all time. And I was like, oh, I'd like to try being a bad guy. I was just basically copying him.
What do you think I'm interested to say, what do you think of Chris Jericho right now as like, I hate to say this to Chris Jericho fan, but he's just not, he doesn't seem to be he's not really clicking with me at the moment in terms of, as you said, you're a Chris Jericho fan. He seems to have, I think this face turn is coming quite soon with this whole, someone has to leave this inner circle thing. As a big Chris Jericho fan, it must be a bit some of it isn't great and some of it is good. What are your thoughts on Jericho?
Yeah, like the last like year or so, like it's been, a bit kind of hot and cold for me anyway, like I still love I always love his promos and his cards and stuff. Like I loved the Le Champion gimmick. Like I was like, oh, it's so good. the stuff now, like I feel like what I've learned, especially being like, because he's probably my favorite wrestler he is my favorite wrestler of all time. From what I've kind of learned from watching him is that like I'm gonna have to wait to see how it ends, because this has happened a lot where he's like, I remember it happened a good few times in WWE. I remember he came back in 2016 and everyone was like, oh, he's just like doing the same thing, and then he just switched it when he started doing like, remember with the list, and like he'd come out with his hand like really weird. So like I've kind of learned with like watching Jericho like that. I get what you're saying, but like I'm not gonna judge him. Yeah, I'm gonna wait because I feel like it's looking like he'll go face. He'll turn it right back. You never know. He's very unpredictable.
Yeah, 100%.
But that's how when so for me being a heel, I think I'm a better heel than I am as a good guy. I don't really change that much.
I agree. I do like. We'll talk about the Club Rock Shandy matches in a while, but like I think you guys as heels are just because you're naturally kind of, when you're walking around the strut and the kind of it kind of feeds off kind of like that kind of ego kind of character, and then you're like, because you've gotten to that stage where I don't think early stage you would have been, but now that you're like kind of established, once you've wrestled overseas and you're getting like established, you can kind of bring that kind of I've been everywhere kind of character into the performance.
Like I found when I did that show I was talking about, right? When I came out as the surprise against Trent Seven, like now the reaction was very face like. I don't know what it was. I don't know if like I obviously must have been doing a good job on the contender shows, but I think people were just so happy that it was like an Irish person, because it was very much still at the heavy import time. It was very import heavy. Like, and obviously they're still amazing, but it was like Irish, and like again it was a proper reaction. And I came out, I called Trent Seven fat, I called him ugly, like, and I was like, I remember I was having a go at Corporate Kane, like as I always would, but like I mean, there's a point if you watch the match back in the VOD, I'd scream something, I don't know, at someone, and like they just go, wah! And like I'm just like, and I kind of shrug my shoulders, like, well, like I guess I'm a good guy now, because I feel like I didn't really change that much. I'm still like, I don't know if it's like, I guess it is kind of the way I position my character, that like I would still, LJ Cleary, the good guy, would still go up and cheekily slap someone in the face, but people would just like it. People would just be like, well, like that's just what he's like, compared to like, oh, he's such an arsehole like doing that. I don't know, like I find
I get
it
that
very
kind of I get the Eddie Guerrero as well. I kind of get that kind of thing where it's like you love him, but if he's he can subtle changes. But like you were talking about that GN title run, and like we'll get back to the more than hype stuff, but the GN title run was kind of, it brought a lot of different matches for you. You had the death match, you had some like just comedy matches, and then it kind of built to that. My second show that I went to was the Sure Road show, and I think talk about the journey, and then that Sure Road show where you fought two matches, and the kind of the Haskins kind of stuff. I'm talking to Mark Haskins on Friday. I'm going to ask him about it as well. But like, class. Yeah, because the stuff that happened that night kind of really like, it's another step in kind of like legitimizing you, because you kind of fought two matches on the same night, and you bollocksed yourself basically on the same night with the whole briefcase stuff. What was it like building up to that moment and the matches that happened before? Like,
yeah, it was obviously amazing. Like I've never really like, even just for general speaking, I will go back to it, but for me, generally speaking, even like obviously, I have matches that I love more than others. I have some stinkers that I don't like, but like I've never not been at a show and I've not been happy to be there and stuff. Like it is always what I want to do, but you do have these big shows that mean a lot more. Like when I won the GN title, like to kind of lead up to that, I remember it was like I didn't find out till like on the day and stuff, and I remember like Joe saying to me, he was just like, if I give you this ball, like, you're gonna run with it, and I was like, yeah, like absolutely. And I honestly, I don't think that would have happened if that Trent 7 show hadn't. I don't think it would have went that way. So I won it, and it was amazing. Yeah, like you said, I was in some crazy matches. I had like the match in the Tivoli with Martin and Joey Janela and TK Cooper, and then I wrestled Tyler Bate and Chris Wolf, and then I defended it in the stadium as well against Paddy, Raven Creed, Rocky Romero,
Gino Gambino.
Which was amazing. Yeah, Gino Gambino. Yeah. But I really like that's a match I'm really fond of looking back. It's only short. It's only like 7 or so minutes. That's when I do really enjoy watching back. Like
that was my first show. That was my first show. Man.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like I didn't go. I'm so angry. I never got to go to a Tivoli show, and I still kick myself to this day. Like that Raven Creed, my first match, Raven Creed suplexes Gino Gambino off the top rope. It was mental. And now
now
he's in the Bullet Club, which is mad.
Yeah, that's the only match I can tell you honestly now. Like I did, like I'm quite good with hands and nerves. Well, I do get them, like as everyone does, but that's the only match where I remember I only for like about 10 seconds where I thought I was going to puke. And it was because I was grand the whole day. I was like, oh, I'm great opening the stadium. I was like, I really in my head, I'm like, oh, I've earned this spot, like. But I remember obviously the putting together of the match goes on. And then, but I was very in awe of Rocky Romero because there's different types of people that you wrestle. Like it's amazing when you're on like indie shows with big names, are big on the indies. But when we wrestled like Cole Cabana and stuff, I was like, oh, like some of these people I watched Scotty Goldman on TV when I was a kid and stuff. Like you see these people in kind of different lights. And Rocky Romero was when I was like, wow, oh my god. So I was coming out last. Like the entrance was, and Rocky Romero was just before me. I remember like he was just kind of like gave me like like a little nod before he went down. And I remember his music came on. And I was like, oh my god! Like I remember having my head like this against with my arm over against one of the walls, and I was like, what's wrong with me? I was like, this never happens. And Fabulous Nikki came over to me and he was like, are you all right? And I was like, and I kind of just shook myself and was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And then like I went down and it was fine. But that's just a little side note for that match. That was because that was the last successful defense, I guess, that I had. So that Shaw Road came in there. We were the opener, 6-man, and again, like we were really kind of on the up. I felt like we were getting really good reactions. Like there was just, but again, it was just because of the natural chemistry. No matter like, there was a lot of fireworks and stuff in the match, Aussie Open and stuff like that. And then like it was tough. It was stressful wrestling twice, but it's just because because I wrestled 3 people in a 4-way and then another 3 people in a 6-man. So like I wrestled like 6 different people that night based over 2 matches. Like, and then I can't look at the second match until the first one's over. And obviously there was a bit of a gap between it, but not that long. Like for in a 4 like multi-man matches that take a lot longer to put together than a singles one. I remember doing it, and I really wanted from that to get. Because I think obviously I got injured in the first match, and then it's like Haskins. We've done like the little pre-tape thing before the show. I think that like I was like, oh yeah, I'll defend it. And I remember just thinking like, and obviously Haskins he called me out to like, because I was like I wasn't cleared to compete or whatever. Like I was just like, God, I really hope it gets a good reaction when I walk out again, because it was like our music's already played. You've already heard the Beautiful Life song, which I think always does get like the song in itself kind of garners a good reaction. I was just like, I really hope when he calls me out again that it gets a good reaction. It did, thankfully. And obviously the match went on as it did, and I think there was real good drama in the last few minutes of it. Like there's a point where he destroys me with like 4 things in a row. It's like kick to the head, double foot stomp. He does some move where like he turns you upside down, drops you on your head, and I kick out of it, and it gets a proper like. People thought that was it, Obviously, I end up losing anyway. And then right after that, we did like the whole thing of my gender neutral title run, and this was the whole idea of it. It was like I was always to win with like quick pins. Like I was always just escaping because I was that type of character that like I was very cheeky, goofy. I could still wrestle, but that's the whole point. I could get you the quick pin. That I remember after the big kick out, Haskins goes for a move, and I do get like a quick roll up on him, and it's another like, oh, maybe I am. And then he gets me in the submission, nearly breaks my arm or whatever.
Oh no, but I think Haskins is criminally underrated by a lot of people, and I think that match would be a fantastic match in a stadium as well. Like
I would like to wrestle Mark Haskins in a singles match, definitely.
Because like that was 2 years in full fitness, full throttle. That would imagine that opening a show. That would just be a good way to start the show. I've got what I would like to call Clon Corner, because Mr. Clayton Long, host of Cloncast, new podcast out now, which is going to be another great podcast to add to the plethora of podcasts we have. He has sent me a few questions. Favorite Edge and Christian, if Edge and Christian are to be coming back, obviously Edge won the Rumble, well, who would you like them to face? I see a lot of Edge in your GN title character, kind of ultimate opportunist, kind of going in and being, I kind of made that when he asked that question, I kind of linked that together today. But Edge and Christian, were you big fans of them, and what matches would you like to see come forward? I've one that I'd like to see that could play into a storyline.
Well, regarding being fans, I was the prime age of I hated Edge as a kid. I hated him. When I thought wrestling was real, like John Cena was my hero, and I still John Cena is still one of my favorite wrestlers. I hated Edge. Edge was going in slapping John Cena's dad. He was every time and I loved John Cena and Batista, and Edge was always always just get away from Batista and stuff like that. I much more appreciate Edge now as in the last few years as I got into wrestling, because I was wow, he really made me hate him as a kid. Like I didn't like I had loads of
Good at his
wrestling and
job.
stuff.
Good at his job.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even want to buy an Edge one, but like I needed them for my like for my toy federation. But like I didn't want to because I was like, he's gonna get money from this because I don't like Edge stuff. But anyway, but now I am a huge Christian fan. Like I love Christian. He's like someone I watch a lot. Like regarding like what I want to get better at wrestling. Um, I think he's the most underrated wrestler ever. That's just for me. Now, I nearly cried when he came out in the Rumble. I
Oh,
could not believe it. And obviously, like I think Klong said it when he was on that like a few of us were going to go on a call and watch it, and we did for the Rumble. Because obviously it wasn't going to be the same as last year's with the no crowd. However, I still think it ended up being great. It's because I
it was
wasn't
great, yeah.
expecting a lot of things. Yeah, no, like Edge coming back last year was phenomenal. Like that'll never be topped. Like the reaction, the fact that it was in like what number 21 and like packed arena was amazing. But when Christian came out this year, I was so quiet for a few minutes. I was so in shock. He's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. So I'm so happy that he's back. Like I
I
hope
struggled to keep it quiet. I have a family. I woke up with my family because I was like, he came out, and then when they hugged, I was like, oh, and I was just like,
yeah,
yes, this is fantastic. But like those the matches the match Edge and Christian. If Edge goes for Roman, which I hope he does, I'd want
yeah.
that. I'd want to see an elimination chamber because correct me if I'm wrong. Edge and Christian's match in TLC was the chairs match, right? It was the chairs. It was they were the C and
That
the
was
O.
their weapon. Yeah,
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 yeah.
the concerto.
So Edge and Christian versus Jey Uso and Roman Reigns in the
Yeah,
chairs match.
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna
Yeah,
say Reigns and Uso was one of mine as well.
I
I also
don't.
think he goes for Reigns. I hope Edge like
Yeah, if
wrestles Reigns.
I don't know if Christian will want to wrestle a chairs match, but you could work around it. Just don't go near it.
Got him
But
in the head,
got
yeah.
him in the head. Yeah, please don't.
They
But
don't really do that anymore anyway, so they might be all right.
yeah, but any other matches that you'd like to see, like these?
Mm.
Get your hands on them yourselves. Get Nathan and Darren in
Oh no, and
there.
I'm telling you, like as much like I have many a dream match, but like, cause, and like I don't know what I'm very high hopes for myself regarding like where I go and stuff like that. But you kind of I had to rule out someone like a Christian, but like now like you never know what's gonna happen. Wrestling Christian, like I don't know what I do, but anyways, regarding them now, yeah, Reigns and Jey Uso would be great. Would be great that like if that was building up to WrestleMania. I'd like to see them against like someone like the Grizzly Young Vets or the Undisputed Era. I'd love to see them against Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. I think like I know like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish are like that they're the tag team, but for a while when he was injured, I'd love when Strong and O'Reilly were like they were tagging opening
if
the
you know,
shows.
if you know this podcast, Kyle O'Reilly is my absolute favorite wrestler.
Really, yeah.
The stuff he's done lately, I would have loved to have seen him. I hope in the future we get to see him do Iron Man in the Rumble. I think a Kyle O'Reilly Iron Man performance in the Rumble for like an hour,
Yeah.
just getting slapped around would be amazing. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
Kyle is up there.
I think that match, like I thought the best wrestling match of last year, in my opinion, was him the first one that him and Balor had at the takeoff. Like I was like I thought that was the best match of last year.
They didn't leave the ring once. Like that is
Yeah.
like they didn't leave the ring once, and they captured the that and Dragunov and Walter is like if someone comes to me and is like wrestling like why like it's or it's
What is it? Why'd you like it? Yeah.
show them that or show like Kabashi and Joe. It's kind of like along those lines. Just like show them like beating the crap out of each other and tell me that
Yeah.
doesn't hurt.
No, I'd love to see that for them tagging, but if obviously singles wise, like I hope Edge wrestles Reigns, like that's the kind of. But I would love to see at Mania. I'd love to see Christian around the Orton wrestle again because I'd love to see if they did like because I know like they're kind of finished with Edge and Orton, but like if Orton's like, well, I'm gonna take it out on like I'm gonna try take it out on Christian, but now because Christian's back and they did the little thing in the summer where he was on Raw and like he punted him like, and obviously like the Christian Orton matches from like 2011, they had like 4 pay-per-views in a row were incredible.
Yeah, they did.
yeah.
I remember the match where Christian got Randy Orton. Like if it was no DQ for Christian, but it wasn't for Randy. I love that match.
He got DQ'd. Like he
spat in his face, trying to get him angry. But they've been teasing Christian and Big E. Christian going for the IC belt to be amazing with Big E.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great Mania feud.
Honestly, I just want to see him. Like I want to see him have a good few singles matches. I'd be so happy.
Run the gauntlet, just and then I think Klong is asking this question in tongue, and he's trying to get an answer out of you. Ask him about UFC 3. And his rival with Connor. I think he might rivalry with Connor or something.
So anyone that's listening that like is a really big Irish wrestling fan. Maybe you've been to the Fight Factory shows. You might know who CBL is. He does like a kind of I say he does like a culture. He is one. Like he's from Longford. I don't know if you might know him from Courage Wrestling fame. I wrestled him on the last Fight Factory show. We had a big scramble match together. So in lockdown one, I'm not a huge MMA fan at all. Like I'm not even really a casual fan. But I've always liked playing the games. I used to love it years ago when like Lesnar was around, just because of wrestling though.
Yeah.
We both bought UFC 3. Well, it was a tenner in the first lockdown on PS Plus, and I was like, oh, I want to play the career mode on something like because the new wrestling game wasn't good, so I was like, I want to play career mode. And we both got it, and we were like, oh, like we play it online a bit. And like I tell you now, from that was probably about May, that currently me and CBL have had over 610 fights on UFC 3 online. I'm probably going to go and play one after this. Our current record is 311 to 311. That's what we're currently stand at. When we first started playing it, we were like, what would we go to? And I said, go to like 20. And he was like, oh, we go 50. And I was like, we're never going to get to 50 fights. And then it was like,
money on the line, is there money?
No, it's pride. It's just the pride. The trash talk that has been going on is ridiculous. So that's the UFC rivalry with CBL. I think CBL Longford is his name on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll get maybe get him on soon. Definitely want to get him and Dom Tuck on. I definitely want to talk to Dom Tuck. Like we talk about Edge and Christian there, and like before we go on to fan question, I think the last question I'd like to ask you is about the ladder match you had. What was it like having it? Like obviously you were a fan, and like some of the ladder matches that come to mind are Eddie Guerrero and Edge on SmackDown, amazing ladder match, and then you obviously have TLC. What was it like having a ladder match? And talk to me about that ladder, because that ladder just looked like a pain in the hole.
The idea of that happening, I remember when like the idea of the stipulation got thrown out there, I was like, no way. I was like, ladder match, and it was like, and then it was one of those moments, and I kind of had it when we ended up wrestling like the Lucha Bros stuff as well, because I felt like for so long I was so like, I very much so like, you know, I work very hard and stuff, but I was like, oh, you know, it's great to be on these shows, like great opportunities, but it was these moments, these matches hit me that I was like, but I guess like the show kind of like, not to be big-headed, but it was more for the truth. I was like, the show needs us now. I was like, we're properly part of this. Like we're on the level of everyone on these. So it's gone from like give the three lads a spot, like because they did well in training, to like, I think we're a valuable part of the roster, like that the show won't be the same if we're not on it. So then I was like, maybe a ladder match could happen. It was ridiculous. Like I never wanted to watch a ladder match again after, because I must have watched about 20 leading up to it, and we actually ended up having the three of us were in an 11-man ladder match the next month as well in England. That was crazy. But the singles one, anyways, my favorite ladder match is probably Jericho and Michaels from No Mercy 08. Again, like that's like around that time as a kid. Hated Jericho as a kid. He's my favorite wrestler of all time now. It was just like, it's a lot of trust, you know, like that's it. It's a lot of trust, and obviously like Wrestling Sky, like we'd been around the country together for a good few years at that point in England and stuff as well. So like there was a lot of trust there as well regarding safety and stuff like that. And that ladder absolutely wrecked. No giving that whatsoever.
It clamped together in mid-match. I think I remember vividly. It clamped together mid-match, and there was a minute there I was like, oh no. But I think his work. It wasn't just. I like the fact that it was one ladder, because it didn't really kind of like, it was kind of a match that just happened to have a ladder in it. Like there was a few bridge spots that were quite cool that must have looked, they looked like hell to take. But it kind of worked that there was only one ladder, because you see a lot of ladder matches these days that, so there's a lot of poor matches. There's a lot of poor ladder matches that are just, they're kind of too focused on the ladder, whereas the main use of the ladder is to climb up there and get the belt, where you just see a lot of stuff that just doesn't need to be in the match. But you guys worked around the ladder quite well. What was it? Is there much difference in preparing for?
It was completely different, because it was like, all right, like there's no like the things like where do you get your, like in our, this is what we're thinking for, like where do we get our false finishes, you know, in a match when you get to do 1, 2, and everyone goes, like that's gonna have to be one of us falls off there, like that's what we're thinking, like these are gonna, the stakes or the risks were way higher, and we were quite proud of as well that we did do that we only had the one, but the one ladder meant a lot. But that would probably be the biggest thing. The biggest thing was the false finishes. So instead of being like me hitting disaster kick and getting 1-2. Oh, I almost had it. It's like I'm gonna have to push that over, and you're gonna have to fall off, and that's gonna have to get the or you're gonna have to throw me backwards into it. And like I'm just gonna have to take it.
The dramatic
And
climb, yeah, the master,
yeah,
the dramatic climb, the slow
yeah,
climb.
it made me it made me realize, and I was like, this is where I was like we're crazy, like as wrestlers and stuff. That like I actually did this. I got this in the first lockdown. I remember I watched there was a TLC match from a few years ago that had it had the Usos, the New Day, and the Lucha Dragons in it. And it's where
Oh,
Kalisto does that. You know when he did the big sleeve that I
yeah.
saw, and I was like, wow. I was like, and then I looked at that. I was like, wow. And there's a point in there where one of the Usos just gets up and he just misses a splash to the outside and just lands on one of the ladders. And I was like, oh my god, then doing that. But then I was like, I thought back to that ladder match, and I was like, and I thought about the end of it. I was like, what I told that was pretty. Like I was like, that was
That was
crazy. And I was
spectacular.
like,
That
yeah.
was what was it like taking a gator roll, off the top?
Yeah,
Like,
it was it was very sore, but he looked after me and stuff. He did, like, for sure. But it just made me realize, I was like, but when I was looking at it, and then I thought about when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, like they're taking all these big things. Like if the first show back tomorrow, I was in a ladder match, I know without even thinking about that, I'm gonna be taking something or doing something like that. I wouldn't even think about it then. And I'm the type of person that, like, I've gotten really over the last few years, like, I hate ice skating, right? I don't know why. This is just an example.
oh
Like,
man, I'm terrible, man. I'm so bad. I can't
it's not
even.
even, yeah, it's not even that I'm bad, right? It'll be like Eve will be like, we go ice skating. I'm like, I'm terrified to go because I'm afraid of like breaking something or something like that. Or I'm afraid of falling or getting my fingers sliced off or something like that. And like, I'm very cautious of other things, but the second I go on the train, it's like I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. Like, I'll mill myself on my head, no problem. I was like, that's where we're crazy. I was like, that's where as wrestlers we're mental. If I had that exact same ladder match tomorrow, knowing how sore it was and stuff, it happened again. Just kind of made me realize that I was a bit insane, but I was like, well, I'm this far in now. So
Yeah, you mentioned Aoife there. Obviously, Valkyrie, for those who aren't aware, how proud are you of what she's doing right now? The stuff that it's amazing to see her on WWE TV. And before the lockdown, she was gunning for that Kaylee Ray's title, and
yeah,
like we could genuinely see Aoife Valkyrie versus Maiko Satomura in the next like year, which is just on WTV,
that'd be incredible.
which is insane. How proud are you of?
Yeah, like I'm insanely proud. Like, Eva would have started in Fight Factory like about a year and about 4 months after me. So I wouldn't, I would have been. I've seen her like from the start, and obviously we're together and stuff now years. But I would have had like somewhat a hand in trying to help train her too. And just for me, it's like the proudness comes from, like, obviously the I feel like there is a genuine proudness from fans and stuff like that when you see like someone, especially, like take the Irish team, when you see someone sign somewhere or do something, the fans are very proud, which I think is amazing. But like, for me to see it, like what's gone on behind the curtain in the training school, that's what makes me really proud, because I've seen like wrestling training is hard. Like, it's very, very difficult. Like, to see like the long weekend hours, like the getting up at mad hours in the morning to fly to places, flying yourself to places to get better and stuff like that. To see that for me, for someone like her pay off, that was what was incredible. And I thought as well what was amazing, and I think it's where she's quite natural at it. Like, she just fit in. There wasn't like when someone sometimes it happen with someone new debuts on TV, and it's like, oh, they look a bit like, I'm sure it's a hard world to adapt to.
Fish in deep waters kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
you're like, yeah.
but I thought she got dropped in and was just like, yeah, like, let's do it.
The vignettes were fantastic.
Oh yeah, they were.
They were amazing, and then she hit the ground running with a lot of match where she was just the finish. It helps that finisher move was killer.
Yeah,
that looks awful. I'm sure you've taken that in practice. I'm sure you've taken plenty there in practice. But it's amazing, and I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, if this podcast grows, we get to speak to her sometime on
oh yeah, definitely.
in conjunction with a WWE event. But let's go on to some fan questions, because we got a lot in the last hour, and then we'll do a bit of a dream. You talk about dream matches, we'll do dream matches to close up. But first one, Brian, you say Brian Maxwell said, can you use Bleh in a sentence? Listen, lads, it's live by the Bleh and die by Bleh. Bleh is what it is.
Live by the Bleh and die by the Bleh. You couldn't have said it better myself. That's it in a sentence.
By sure.
Yeah.
I'm such a mark. Sean McKiernan, worst move to take this kind of ties in with the
Oh.
worst move to take, and then explain that beautiful move. You explained on a podcast earlier a few weeks ago, but explain that move that you made with the Kings of the North and that whole set was up. But worst move to take first, because
Worst move to take? I don't know. The worst move ever. Like the Gator all off the ladder was bad, but I won't. That's not something I'd be taking all the time. So
I feel like it's the more simple ones that look easy on the eye. That'd be more, because people say like a Canadian destroyer looks horrible, but apparently I've saying the Canadian destroyer looks pretty safe. Like apparently it's pretty safe, but there's other moves that look safe.
no. When I hit it, I get the win. So I'm putting them
dangerous,
down.
deadly.
No, not dangerous. No. Yeah, I'm trying to think now. What do I not like taking? That's what I'm trying to think. Like, what am I like? Oh, yeah, like some things this is depends who it's hitting it, because I don't think the move isn't bad to take. Depends who you're taking off. Sometimes a rotten clothesline can really rattle you. Like that's one thing. Now, like a clothesline as a move, it's not bad. Like it's not a bad one. But when that comes wrong, or maybe you're just a little bit off, or someone's maybe like aiming a bit higher than it should be, like that can be quite bad.
I've been watching a lot of like wrestling players with friends, and we've watched a lot of like All Japan stuff, and like who the hell would say yes to a match with Stan Hansen? Like Jesus Christ, that clothesline looks horrible. Like it looks awful. But yeah, clotheslines are going.
You know what? Like some submissions can be quite sore regards to like I think people get into them all. Like I've been put in now. It's not even a training, because I know he has put it on me on a show. We have wrestled once or twice. Like I've been put in a half crab by Darren now, and it has been in training. But like now, when we're kind of just like, let's say he's practicing a new way into that, it's no problem. But you get into the moment when you're on a show, and you start like sinking back a little bit, and that can be like the submissions can be quite sore. A figure four is very sore.
Look, it looks like it all revolves around like the lower back. Like the lower back's kind of like the focal point. That sounds, it must be a lot of lower back pain when you wake up after a match. Like.
Yeah, and I guess as well, like it moves. It really just does depend on who's hitting them. Like and then maybe sometimes like it can be on me. Like let's say like I've had times where like I've taken a lot of like German suplexes. I've been fine, but sometimes I'm like maybe I get too excited and I'm like I'm gonna absolutely mill myself back here, and I land right on the top of my head. The worst I got off a German suplex was I landed really high but bit my whole like lip and tongue on the way down. I remember coming up just like, what is going on? I thought I lost it too for a second, but I was like, oh no, I'm grand.
I hate biting my tongue. Biting your tongue or lip is the worst thing in the world. But
I hope that answers it anyway. Like I didn't really have a straight answer there. I was just trying to think. When you're a bad clothesline.
Yeah. Joe Stodge asked, cheeky. This one is the hair a wig? And this kind of leads. I watched an interview with Carlito yesterday, and he was talking about how like the maintenance of the hair, that he started going to this like the place and getting like beer, like the kind of the hair mask, getting into this hair mask thing. Do you have a hair treatment, or are you pretty much let it leave be?
Well, I guess like, all right, so three things. First of all, I absolutely, as much as like we were talking about Christian in the Rumble, which was the highlight of it. Like, when Carlito came out, I was so happy. So good to see him back. He is as well, yeah. Ridiculous. Secondly, it's not a wig. No, anyone that watched the video version of this, it's not. And third, I don't do anything with it besides wash it and condition it. I don't do anything. I haven't got a cut since 2014. I remember. And do you know what? I remember as well, I was like, I had planned to get a cut when I finished my leaving cert. I don't know why. I was like, oh yeah, when I finish my leaving cert. But when I finished my leaving cert is when the contenders had just started and stuff. And I was like, gee, I'd be some fool to cut this now. I was like, this is like, it's no matter like where I go, like if anyone was to ever recognize it, you're going to see the hair straight away. So imagine I didn't have my hair, like,
no. Listen, look, we're two different. Yeah. I took it all off a week ago, so it's that awkward phase. And look, there's two people. There's the awkward phase that you either live through it or you take it all off. And I just can't. Yeah. I couldn't do.
I'm sure whenever it goes, and that's not going to be for a long time, that it's definitely going to be within wrestling. Like it's 100% going to get shaved off.
You want to have hair versus hair, man.
Like if I had to, like, but like I just feel like I would have to do that. Like there would be something. Like I'd be giving something away by not having that be like a big match.
I think if someone's in a harbor, if someone has to shave some hair off, Be Cool will be flipping brilliant. I think Be Cool winning with like a roll up and then shaving your hair off would just because you could do the whole like you can just BK's comedic. I'd love to talk to BK, and the comedic timing is amazing. But
it would be hilarious.
Yeah, Johnny McMurray asked, "Do you see OTT come back this year?" This is a tough question. I don't know what your opinions are, but conservatively, probably 2020, probably the end, towards the end, second half of the year, probably.
2021, yeah, I think, and maybe it is just me being. I am optimistic. I'm very optimistic, very positive. In 2021, yeah, for sure. It might not be till, like you said, after July, but I definitely think we will see a few. Might only be a few, but a few live wrestling shows. It won't happen before the summer, I don't think.
No.
But I think, and that is me being hopeful, because I obviously want to get back to doing what I was doing, and I want people like you to be coming back, and that connection is sorely missed. Like, I'm sure you miss going to shows as much as I miss being on them. But yeah, I do think so. And it is because as well, like, look, and I don't know, that's not going off facts or anything like that. I'm going off being just as positive as I can, that yeah, I think I will be wrestling in front of you people asking me questions again soon enough.
selling t-shirts. But lads, that is your official answer. We will be, hopefully, once this vaccine
kicks in. Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And look, it's not, and look, I imagine the first, let's say, first OT won't be normal. Like, it's gonna be strange the first one back. I'm sure you will have you'll have the few precautions in order, as rightfully so. But then hopefully by Christmas, that's very much so kind of toned down. But we don't know. Let's hope so.
The fans listening, like the silver lines, we talk about silver lines. LJ and all the lads, could you imagine they're chomping at the bit now? Could you imagine 7 months down the line what the quality of the wrestling, the physiques? I'm not putting pressure on them.
Oh jeez, I'm gonna have to come back amazing, looking like Carlito.
BK's gonna come back looking like Chris Masters, and that it's gonna be. But could you imagine just the urgency and the passion that's gonna be? I've been telling people that's how good it's gonna be.
I think with that as well, what you said there, what you're going to see there, and maybe it won't be straight away on the first of the TV shows. It will be like the shows like the Fight Faction and stuff. Obviously, like I'm chomping at the bit, like you said, as someone that's a little more known. There's a lot of people that people might not know about just from, let's say, like Fight Factory, like someone like a Fabio, and even like talking about like Club Rock Shandy, like just about to get their own.
Kelly Lynch as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like people like them, like that's going to be, I think, hopefully, like we're looking at the tail end of 2021 as like you're looking at a lot of newer people within Irish wrestling. So yes,
let's do it. Come on. Now Johnny McElroy, Johnny McElroy asks, if you could sign one big name to OTT full-time OTT contract, who would it be? So hypothetical situation: Mr. Cabre has won the lotto and he has a lot of money, and you can sign one wrestler to a full-time contract. So he works for OTT and kind of is on the regular on the shows. Who would you pick?
So now I can either pick someone like selfishly, or I can pick someone like who I think would. Well, I guess if I pick someone selfishly, like they're probably going to benefit the promotion. And this is like anyone, like they can be from anywhere.
Yeah.
I definitely just pick Jericho then, because I want the rest.
To be honest, I actually kind of agree with you there, because he can have the odd match, but him on commentary with Angle, and then him, maybe general manager, or like managing a talent. Could you imagine if you were managed by Jericho? Could you imagine heel LJ managed by Jericho?
I guess that's the thing. You're right. Is like, let's say, look, I'm adding clauses to this contract, this non-existent contract, that they shouldn't wrestle all the time, because when you see everyone wrestle all the time, it's different when I think you see people like more than hype and whoever wrestling every month. It's different, than the huge attractions. That I'm sure we will become one day. But like, yeah, I'm only picking him because I can wrestle him. I guess if I had to pick someone else, let's say, he'd be like my 100% pick. Someone. I'm trying to think, like, indies. Yeah, everyone's like signed now. I'm gonna say the Hurricane. He was on an OTT show before. We need more characters in Irish wrestling. I think. I really think we need more. Like, it's just what I like, and like I would love to see a few more. Like, like the early Raw, like the people, like the really goofy characters, like the Repo Man and stuff like that. I want to see more people doing characters like that, because I just think what stuff like that does, and maybe just like, I feel like, because kind of done it firsthand, where like I took my personality and really put it out there. Because I think you can get far on your like being really good at wrestling, but then like people, I think fans, they just crave something else. They want to see a different side of it. And I think kind of putting people with stuff like characters early can force them out of a comfort zone.
Yeah, because
And the Hurricane, and we're going to sign the Hurricane to help us do that.
Yeah, because I was talking to Joe Hendry, and he's a perfect example of someone who like he's turned himself into a fantastic wrestler, and like he's going to be in the pure division of Ring of Honor. But like those vignettes and stuff are what we think of when we think of Joe Hendry. It's just a perfect example. But Tommy Flynn, big man Tommy Flynn, the forum owner of the OTT wrestling forum. Apart from Pac, we're putting our realistic hat back on. Apart from Pac after COVID, singles dream matches. So I don't know what realistic is to like. Realistic to you is you're gonna be dreaming quite big because you guys we're on a roll beforehand. But
like yes, like Pac is the one, like that is the current one that, like, because obviously I want to happen. And I'm gonna say it again, like I do think I would, like Jericho is the one for me. Like, you know, I could look at it a few years ago, it was extremely far away. It's still very far away now, but like, you know, he's still wrestling regularly on AEW. I don't know where my career is going to go. Like, no one would have expected OTT to get someone like Moxley. Like, nobody thought they were going to get him. So you never know what kind of rabbit's going to get pulled out of a hat. So Jericho's the main one. Him, Pac. You know, I'd love to do MDH against British Strong Style. Like, I think that's like, obviously the two lads against Mustache Mountain is just, it's cursed, that match. But I think the match.
It's like Tony Ferguson and Khabib, from which got like cancelled 5 times in the UFC. It's literally like, it's literally, honestly.
Then imagine like Pete Dunne wasn't it. Again, I don't know how, like, again, I don't know how realistic that is. But then, you know, you see a lot of those when things were normal. There's a lot of the NXT people that would pop up on those indie shows. Kyle O'Reilly did Super Strong Style 16, you know, which was what in England. So like, you never know. NDH British Strong Style, me versus Jericho is the big one. Maybe I would like to wrestle a few more like former WWE people that I grew up watching. I always said Carlito, but I don't know if that's gonna happen now.
We're manifesting things into reality here.
Yeah, I got to wrestle Rich Swann in Belfast before, and I'd love to wrestle someone like him again. But I think us on OTT would be really good on a contender show. I think we'd have a really good match.
Yeah. So yeah, Niall Foxy. Good off Show Foxy. He's doing some good YouTube content with Nerds Are Us. Yeah. I'm really enjoying that. Out of some unseen Irish, this is a good question. I like this one because out of some of the unseen talent in Ireland, who would you like to mix up with? Because I've had like Kelly Higgs Lynch, and that last one of my favorite shows I've ever been to, and I've been to like
big ones,
stadium shows that were like huge, and I've been to 16 car. One of my favorite shows was that School of Irish Wrestling show just before the break. They had the Attitude Era entrances, and there's just so many feel good moments. You had the fans in the crowd. Shit, that Kelly Higgs Lynch main event with Morton Hype was just fantastic. What are some of the talent that you'd like to mix up and just talk about that show in general? Because I think were you there? Were you away? I think you might have been.
Yeah, no, I wrestled Alex Grayson in the triple threat on that.
Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah, you were healing it up, but that was just a fantastic show to be at. Just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, regarding like the, you know, people I haven't, like, I've even anyone that I haven't wrestled, like, I've 99% chance that I've worked with them in training a lot. For me, yeah, like Kelly Higgs Lynch would be, you know, obviously the other two lads with the rest of them when I didn't. I would have done a lot with them in training. I'd love to wrestle them. I did wrestle Danny Cross on that show. I'd love to have a singles match with Danny Cross. I think for me, having wrestling someone like him on a Contenders, like, you know, I feel like would be quite good for someone like him as well, because like he's still kind of coming into the fold. And he's really doing well. He's very hard work. He's a really hard worker.
Yeah, we had him, CJ, and Liam Enright on as well, and they're just full of fire. They're full of fire, and like they really chomping at the bit to get back. CJ West as well. Like, I get along with him quite well. Like, we've known each other for a good few years now. I'd like to wrestle him, and then going to Fight Factory. Like, I've wrestled most people in Fight Factory, but, you know, maybe looking at like different types of matches. I'd love to wrestle Justin in the singles. Again, I think it would be really good on a Contender show. Unbelievable.
He'll be amazing when he come back. I wrestled Fabio a good few times, so, but like, I wrestle him every day if I could. I genuinely think that Fabio and maybe people listen and it's understand like you might not know who he is, like because he's only really done Fight Factory. He's the Irish Union Heavyweight Champion. I would honestly say I would put him in my top 5 wrestlers in the whole country at the moment. I genuinely would, and then that's because I see him a lot in training, and I've wrestled him before. But again, I would be expecting very big things from someone like him as well.
That's a good segue, because for those who don't know, Fabio is, if you've been living under a rock, the match is free. Modern Hype versus Club Rock Shandy in the 6-man tag. I'd said this to Clong last week. I missed it because I had a botched house party. Don't need to say that too loudly, or else the parents will hear me and remember it.
Burst in the door.
Remember it. But yeah, that was an amazing match to watch. Clong talks about that bump where he took the back bump, and just the special atmosphere that night.
Yeah.
How good was, like, we talked about the heel character, and this was you guys at your best, and the 3 lads at their best. What was it like, even though you were losing the bet? What was it like that night? That was just, it was just something special. That I even watching it through the VOD, it was all.
Oh no, that was amazing. And I think you said it there, and but you said it like it was special, and it did feel special. But I very much so like think we all 6 of us, say, you know, 7 actually, because like Foxy was very important in that match. You know, we all wanted to make it really special, and without us, any of us even saying it, like, oh, let's, like, we didn't like put it together saying like, oh, and then this is going to be amazing, this is going to be epic, but like we all just wanted it to be. At that, I remember the point when we kind of, you know, like put it together, we were like, oh yeah, like if this gets pulled off well, like this will be really good. It was a really, the atmosphere, I think, is what made it. Like there was points, it's one of my only points where I was like, there was proper genuine emotion in the crowd of people wanted to see them win. You know, there's different, like, it's amazing when you get a good reaction for like you have a good match and people are clapping because like they enjoy the wrestling they just seen. But in that match, people wanted to see them win. And I remember, like, because when you watch it on the VOD or on YouTube, like it pans out when the 3 of them do the triple 450, and like you see like when the balance, people you can see people proper jumping out of seats, which I remember like being like on the ground. I remember like looking at Nate and we were like, oh, like that was like, I think we really pulled that off there. It was also it was very kind of symbolic of like the training of Fight Factory. Like it's for those 3 lads, like obviously it was such a shame what happened with the year, but you know, looking back at when it happened at that time, it was like take us into a new decade, you know, like it was a start of 2020, like, you know, use are the ones to do it. It's probably my favorite match ever, if I'm being honest. Like, and I've had a lot that I really love. Like I've been really lucky to have had a lot, but that is probably my favorite one.
Yeah. And now we got 2 more. You said you're a wrestling nerd, so favorite AEW WWE feuds at the moment that you've enjoyed going on. Like someone's asked there, I forget where is it? Someone's asked just favorite
like wrestling. If I had to pick like someone.
Yeah, if you had to pick your favorite feud that you're going on in wrestling, like I thought the best feud going at the moment was Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns. I thought that was an amazing feud.
If I had to pick something at the moment, or within like the last few months at least, yeah, the Reigns Kevin Owens was really good, because I am quite the wrestling. Like I still watch everything. Like, but I think SmackDown is by far the best show at the moment. It's been the best show the last year, especially since they brought in, you know, like the Thunderdome and stuff. Like I think SmackDown.
Yeah, because AEW is good, but AEW's maneuvering its pieces quite well. I've talked about this in the pocket. They're maneuvering the pieces into place for 2021. Because I think by the end of the year, Hangman Page is going to get Wrestler of the Year. I think that storyline is just. I've read an article about they're portraying mental health very well with him on that. But that's not like now. Yeah. Right now, SmackDown are doing the now stuff really good, and Bianca Belair, and obviously.
I really liked the Orton McIntyre stuff. Was more because I loved they had the match they had at SummerSlam. I really enjoyed. The Balor O'Reilly feud, like I know they only had the one match and he broke his jaw and all, but like I really enjoyed that. Especially that it was like I felt like it was very much so, because obviously like Adam Cole he's the face of the group, like. He is, like, now they're all amazing, but Adam Cole is the kind of front man, and he'd been NXT champion for however long he was. But when I feel like when they did Balor and O'Reilly, it wasn't like, oh yeah, like it's to give like, oh, another member of the air. It was just like he was just on the same level as obviously in ring he's on the same level as he's above a lot of people on the roster, but very much kind of status wise, it was just like he was straight up there with them, no problem. No one questioned it either because of how good he is. that was something I really enjoyed the Edge and Orton stuff from like Mania and stuff as well. Like the match they had at Backlash, the one they advertised as like the best match of all
Yeah.
time. It was like, but I was thinking about that now. Like, I wouldn't say it's the best match of all time or anything, but if I was watching that and I was like, if I was a kid and they were telling me that this was and how good it was, I probably would have like finished that being like that was the best match ever.
They're came for their audience. But yeah,
I really enjoyed that. But yeah, at the moment, I guess I'd say Kevin Owens and Reigns has been the best stuff. Like, and with Adam Pearce involved as well. Like that's the bit that got really interesting.
Yeah, and then I really enjoyed it. I think Hangman. I was telling a lot. I'd like to get your opinions on this quickly. Like Hangman Page, when crowds are back, kicking out a one-winged angel at like 2.9, and against Kenny and winning that belt, because like his storyline arc, he's gonna go to the rock bottom and then build his way back up, and that's just gonna be insane. Because like he's portraying depression respectfully, but also like really well. And then our final fan question. There's my dog making the cameo. From a man called Joey Farrell. Don't know who he is. Hey LJ, big fan. Just wondering which of your Terry Thatcher featured triple threats do you prefer? The one with Martina or the one with Bill Ever? Again, big fan. So big Mark here, big Mark and friend of the show, Joey Farrell. Him and Terry Thatcher aren't linked to us.
I don't know how we haven't wrestled in a singles match. I don't know. That's one I'm sure that will happen.
What a man! Gotta say.
Yeah, I'm sure that will happen. I do really enjoy both of those matches. They both happen quite around the same time as well. I'd probably say the one with Martina. It happened at one of the OTT Belfast shows. Deco Bourne is always tweeting about it, which I do appreciate.
Deco has kept us all positive this lockdown. Deco's Twitter is one of my favorite Twitter.
Absolutely. Me seeing every day that he's like, I can't wait for things to come back. I'm just like, yeah, me too. And I'm glad you are as well. I can't wait till I could see you, back in the crowd again. But to answer this mysterious Joey Farrell's question, I'd probably say myself versus Terry Thatcher versus Martina. And it happened in the Europa Hotel for Top Wrestling.
Yeah, I think Deco's Twitter handle now is Martina versus Terry.
He just changed it flat out. There's no even like kind of trying to say it now. It's just like, oh yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, but there you go, Joey kid. I told him you'll sort him out with an autograph. And then I like to ask people this to kind of we can do like I like to ask this question. I asked Clong this last week, but like obviously mental health is a very, very important thing with this lockdown and stuff like that. What would your advice be, or what have you been doing to kind of keep that mental health? Because it's as much as the physical health, I've started running just for my mental health. So what would be your kind of advice in terms of that? Because it's a big thing, and it people think that like wrestlers are these like these larger than life characters, even on the rock, but everyone struggles with the same problems. So like what would your advice be in general whenever anyone asks you about mental health?
I would say, especially during all this, and obviously, everyone has different situations and different factors with things like friends and family. But for me, like, if hopefully, if you live with your family, take for example, even if it's like a parent or a brother or a sister or whatever, even in the days when you're feeling like you don't want to like leave the room or anything, like getting up and having a bit of interaction, I think will really go a long way. Just something that I think is really important, because I know it's so easy, especially when we're like, oh, I'm in lockdown, like I can just sit in my room and sit in here and play your video games and stuff all day if you want, but like the human interaction, I think, is a really big thing, because obviously we all probably have a lot of friends that we can't see, and it is virtual. So even if it's a housemate or someone you live with, and if it is like that you live on your own, like having friends and actually calling people as well, just texting, that's okay, but like
so simple, like a simple Zoom call as well is just so
exactly effective. Have a video call, have a phone call, even if it is only like 10-15 minutes a day. I know I said earlier about like, look, I am sick of going on the same walks, but it does help. Getting outside, like general being outside is a huge thing. Like I started to feel sick when I've been in for too long. And just like, don't like forget the things that you enjoy, even if you necessarily can't do them at the moment. Like look at like we're talking here, like I know it's hard. I know it's been hard for wrestlers to like watch it and do stuff like that, because they kind of went through a bit of a rough year with a lot of stuff that happened online. But then as well, like it's hard to watch because like they can't do it, like, and it just makes them sad. But, but I think kind of not forgetting the things, not forgetting to like love the things that you do. Like don't neglect it just because like we can't. And then if it is like, I think I heard Clong saying it on this, but like, you can do follow the restrictions. Don't be that person that doesn't. But there's time, if you are lucky enough to say right now be within your 5K of someone, you can go on a walk with them. You just have to be a little bit more sensible. Like I think a lot of people are in the mindset like we're in lockdown, I can't do anything. Like it's not true. You can do. There is stuff you still can do.
Respecting the restrictions. There's so many things you do. Grab a
Yeah.
coffee, walk to the shop with your mate, grab a coffee,
Yeah.
mask on. It's very
Yeah.
there's a big difference between that and going to a big party. And
yeah, and I know, like, and they are the things that people miss. Like I completely understand it because I said earlier, like, I miss being able just to go off to Darren's house and like and spend hours there. I miss training. I miss the gym. I really miss the gym a lot. Like I don't enjoy home workouts, but I do them. I guess anyone that's struggling even with stuff like that, like and just be active. Like even if you're not necessarily the most active person, like you might not be someone that does go to the gym normally, but like a little bit of activity, even if it is walking or running, like you said.
it was a simple thing for me. Like running just wouldn't be normal for me. But there's an app online that is basically a running app where you're setting a zombie apocalypse. And something like that just makes it a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Zombie. It's
Go
called
on that at night in the dark.
It's called Zombie 5K, and it's just funny because there's some weird, like I think it costs like you get like 3 weeks of workouts, but then you have to pay like €6 a month. But you can redo the 3 weeks of workouts if obviously money is an issue. But like just something simple like that, make workouts fun or make something fun, and then the fresh air. Like it's not actually, it's quite warm for the time of year. Like it's not too cold. It's not warm. It's not warm, but it's not freezing cold, but it's fresh. And I think that's great.
I think as well, like I wasn't into like, I didn't like, especially kind of first lockdown, everyone was like, like come out with this in like the best shape of your life and blah 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 and do all this. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, there shouldn't be any pressure on anyone to like come out of this being able to do 10 new things. But I think like especially this time around, do use it to try even like just add one new thing to your arsenal as a person or to your personality, like it just, and for the people that are struggling, like if we together can get through this, especially this one together, like you're gonna come out on the other side much better, and it is hard. And also don't neglect that it's hard either. Don't, like, I'm not telling myself every day everything's great. I know it's not, but also think when you're in a position that you're like, God, I wish I was doing this. I wish I was at a party. I wish I was doing this. Like, it could be a lot worse as well.
Talk to someone.
Be grateful as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't take things for granted. Well, that's a perfect way to close up. We'll definitely have you on again because there's so much to talk about. We'll
definitely do it whenever you want. I'll
definitely do a part 2, and hopefully, if one of the boys would like to hop on, we can have a chat about the Muju. I didn't get around to the Muju diet. I remember last time.
The Muju diet. Yeah.
Are you still on the Muju diet?
No, not really. Like that was something that feels like it was ages ago. But I do remember that.
I remember the Gatorade and beans as well. I remember that from Darren's fridge.
Yeah, when he was in Canada. Yeah,
man, lads, I'd say it's changed a lot, but we've so much more to talk about. But it's 9:45 here, and Liverpool are losing, so Liverpool are losing, so I need to get off and get a shower, and I'm sure LJ needs to go and beat CBL in a bit.
I am. I'm going to make food, and I'm going to play UFC, and then probably watch something after.
Watch something, yeah. No. Before we leave, obviously, plug everything you have, and you can send me the links, and I'll stick to them. But just tell me where we can find the merch, and your socials.
Just look up More Than Hype, Big Cartel, those words, it'll come up if you want. I think the only thing on there at the moment is there's an 8x10 of the three of us, which like if you're buying, do be warned that like we probably can't sign it when we send it because of the things at the moment. So if you want to buy just the picture, now would be the time to go get it. And we have a long sleeve as well that was meant to be for the stadium weekend.
Oh, yeah, I have that as well, yeah. Oh no, sorry, yeah. I have a different long sleeve. The white long sleeve is really good as well. It's really, really good.
Yeah. So we've got that on it. So go there. At LJ_Cleary on Instagram and Twitter. And then if you want to follow Darren and Nate, just go into who I follow. You'll just see them on my social media actually.
Yeah.
And then while you're there, follow at FFPW Wrestling, at OTT. Go get OTT on demand if you're looking for us. And we want to watch more of my stuff. It's good for you, my matches on YouTube as well. Look up LJ Cleary or More Than Hype.
Yeah, lads, listen, off the top of my head, free on YouTube. More Than Hype, Lucha Bros. More Than Hype,
Boom.
Rascals and Micah Satomura.
Boom.
I think the Cole Cabana match is on there.
I don't know what that is, but I think the Rich Swann match is still up there.
Rich
mine.
Swann. Just look up
Yeah.
LJ Cleary free matches. That's why they want to put in playlists together. You just look up free matches and you get free matches. OTT have so many matches that there's so many matches on the internet that shouldn't be free. They
should be behind the paywall.
It's frightening. Ring of Honor have just some Nigel McGuinness versus Daniel Bryan in Liverpool
on YouTube.
Unified is on YouTube. Like, but yeah, go and listen to all them. And as for us, this podcast is sponsored by Superkicks. The lads Jamie and Callum are fantastic. Ringsiders Wrestling as well. Their interviews are fantastic. Just go superkicks.com and use the code Hallway to get 10% off. You can find us on Hallway Graps Pod if you want to have a look at our stuff. We've got a lot of interviews coming up. It's kind of starting to open up. We're getting a lot of interviews, and this will be out soon. We got Joe Hendry, Mark Haskins will be out soon as well. So there's some really good chats going on. And Jay Christ as well. I spoke to Jay Christ last week, which was a really interesting interview. So he seems very fired up for the lockdown to end. So yeah, just go follow us and you'll see all our podcasts, and obviously Project Dits. Go follow everyone on Project Dits. All the podcasts in there are amazing. And yeah, I've been the managing editor for Rain. That's been Mr. Bleh himself. Bleh doesn't mean anything. Live by the Bleh and die by the
maybe
Bleh.
it does mean something, but I don't know if I can.
We will find it. Maybe that'll be a storyline.
Yeah.
Maybe a storyline to find the meaning of the Bleh.
Yeah.
But yeah, and enjoy your evening, and I will see you all soon.
See you.